What's going on? What's going on, everybody? It is the only sports podcast. That's Casino over there. He's doing the Queen's Wave, even though he's wearing a beanie that's from Jamaica. So, Casino, are you cultural appropriating Jamaica right now? Will you be doing the accent the whole podcast?
Yeah, man.
Great start. We are back to talk.
I love this beanie.
About week 18. We didn't even plan this, got a nice pink and green kind of yellow mixture going on right now. I've switched my background, if you're watching this on YouTube, back to the old reliable. Here's all the things I got. For work, we do a Secret Santa type of thing where we get each other one gag gift, one regular gift. My gag gift was, go follow me on social media. Here's my handle. That's my new cup to drink tea out of. I got the on-air sign, and then I have this delightful picture of a piece of bread, which is art. This is art, Casino. Go check it out on the YouTube. I will put it right here. You can maybe see it every time I lean. It's very creepy picture, but
very invigorating.
That was part of the gag. Yeah. So Casino, what's going on? How you been since our last one was 4 or 5 days ago?
Yeah, no, I'm doing pretty good. Started to eat right again and work out. So I'm already down like 7 pounds, which is wonderful in a week. So
damn,
it's mainly because I just stopped drinking beer and I actually moved my body instead of sitting on the couch.
Huh? What's that like?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but no, when we started today,
and
I was
eating
like
a cheeseburger every night when I would come home. It wasn't every night, but
yeah.
I would eat a cheeseburger about 2 times a week from In-N-Out on the way home. In-N-Out, if you want to sponsor us, I'll eat a cheeseburger every day. I have no problem with that.
Yeah, that's like how I lost a shitload of weight and started feeling way better when after every night at work, where we both get off around the same time, like midnight, I wouldn't stop at Raising Cane's every other night. And who knew greasy, fat food, just dog shit, when you don't eat it every day, you feel better. So, hey, Raising Cane's, if you want to sponsor us, I know I just called you guys dog shit, but I mean, I'll say you're not. For the price,
we'll turn this podcast into a mukbang. Whatever. That's what it is.
But no, you look great, Casino. When we first started recording, I was like, "Is that The Rock?" No, it's just Casino in a Jamaica beanie.
Nice.
But
I am wearing a new fun beanie. One of our listeners, Thomas. Shout out to you, buddy. I think because you and your lady may have just had your kids, so hope everything is going good.
And he better be subscribed. The baby, I mean,
subscribed.
No, the baby.
Said he's one of our subscribers. Oh yes, the baby is subscribers. But I am wearing a new fun beanie and a fun outfit just for you. It's after the holidays.
What does that sweater say?
It Peace Among Worlds. It's Rick and Morty.
Oh, nice. That's nice.
Peace Among Worlds. It makes me very happy.
A pink Old Navy bear. So shout out to Old Navy. You make quality. You know what? They make quality wear that doesn't break the bank.
My shit's backwards, so I need to get my mirror thing fixed.
So I mean, just racking up the sponsors here. But a big weekend in sports I text you when it was happening. I think this might have been one of the worst weekends of football to end on. Just really felt like it ended on a fucking dud. Like, what game was good? Maybe Lions Packers, and even that one was boring as shit for like half of it.
There we go.
So
there we go. I fixed it.
There you go.
Now we look right.
Bam. But
now this is gonna throw it off because it's been mirrored this entire podcast.
Like the life of the podcast?
Yes.
Yeah. Why are you messing with a good thing? That would be as dumb as like changing the background like 4 episodes ago and then changing it right back. That'd be like that dumb. Why would you mess up a good thing? But anyways.
All right, I'm back to mirrored.
Before, however, we get into the last week of the NFL, week 18, let's talk about the national championship game last night that was
so bad.
one of the worst in terms of game quality championship matches, maybe football games I've watched in a while. At no point during the game did it seem like TCU even had a sliver's chance of. I was honestly shocked when they would just move the ball. That game was rough, Casino.
Man, they just looked bad. They looked slow. Um,
Which is
they didn't
crazy
come.
because when
So they
they
didn't.
no, go ahead.
When they played Michigan, they
Yeah.
didn't come into this game like they came into the game against Michigan. You've talked about it. They were very loose. They were excited. They were ready to get into the Michigan game because everybody didn't give them even a shot in the Michigan game. And then now this stage it wasn't for the championship against Michigan. This was for the championship. They looked sluggish. There was blown assignments. I've heard out there was a lot of the defensive players, and it showed. They were trying to play hero ball instead of actually playing their positions, and it showed. There was a lot of wide open touchdowns. But that being said, it's not solely on the defense. The defense was the worst of it, but when Max Dugan, is it Dugan?
I think it's Duggan. I
Yeah,
think
it is
the
Duggan.
extra G adds the gun.
Yeah,
Duggan.
But yeah, he went 14 for 22, only 152 yards with 2 interceptions, and they were
That's
bad interceptions. He had a touchdown on one of them, and he overthrew that ball by like 15 yards.
yeah.
All he had to do is get it in the slant. They needed 7 yards for the first down, and he was there. The receiver was wide open, perfectly ran route, and he overthrew him by like 10 yards and got the interception.
Well, I mean, and that I think right at the end of the second quarter at halftime, when he throws that second, I believe at this point it was the second INT at the end of the second half, where
Yeah,
there was
it was.
literally like what 20, I think it was 28 seconds left, and he just throws it to a guy who's clearly sitting on the route. Like his guy had no shot at it.
Yeah,
And then
he's just
Georgia
sitting under
goes
it.
in, scores another touchdown, and what? They went into halftime up 38, I believe, to 7, like going into halftime of that game. And I mean, they felt like they would put another 38 on them, and they pretty much almost did. Final score ends up being 65-7, which coming out of this game, I don't think it really says anything about TCU. Actually, coming out of this game, I thought, how good is Ohio State? Because Ohio State had this same Georgia team on the fucking ropes for 3 quarters. Like, remember, Georgia had to come back big in that game. So, which
I think
makes
it's
you
just how matching.
question.
I just think of how it matched up. Just how it matched up.
Yeah. TCU, I think they definitely deserved it. I don't think it's a sham that they, you know,
Oh no.
but I mean that's going to be the narrative. Is just
Well,
like
yeah,
this
and
is
then
why.
how I fire back at that though is how I fire back at that is Michigan and Georgia were the 2 top teams. We talked about it on here everywhere that I heard about it on the TV shows, radio, whatever, that Michigan and Georgia were untouchable. That was going to be the final. No teams can compete. And TCU wiped the floor with Michigan. And everybody
Yeah.
thought Michigan was the only team that could mess with Georgia. So again, Georgia's just in another class. Yes, they almost lost to Ohio State, but Ohio State really wanted to get in there, just like TCU. Because if it was Ohio State and TCU, I really wonder what the outcome would have been. I think it would have been a much closer game because both of those teams got past, would have gotten past their semifinal, and the pressure was off of them there, and now they just have to worry about winning a title. But anyway, now going to Georgia and their stats, dude, Stetson Bennett, I liked his composure under center because whenever he would make a big play, or they get a touchdown, especially as the game went on, he did not go crazy. He did not really gloat. He kind of just scored the touchdown, smiled, maybe made a couple like hand gestures, but he's not running up and down the sidelines. From what I saw, I was working, so I was looking up as I was working. But from what I saw, every time they scored, he was pretty composed on the sideline, and good for him, especially since he was like a transfer, and then like he was with them and then went to another team and with them, that whole thing. And so good for him. Uh,
Yeah.
but I
Also,
think that go
well,
for
no,
it.
there's that crazy stat that he is 25 years old and has been at Georgia for 5 years. And Lamar Jackson is also 25 and has been in the NFL for 5 years. Like, how that's possible, I know there's like that whole thing where it's like, oh, he was a red shirt and then he was a transfer, then he was a JUCO, and
Right.
like all those things you stack on each other. But to be 25 and a starting quarterback in college, like that's fucking crazy, because these guys are coming out of the league now where they're like 20, or they always have 20, 21, and they're rookies in the NFL. And by 25 in the NFL, they're usually at their like peak. So, what do you think the
He's
chances of him being in the NFL are? Especially with him already being 25, but like you said, like kind of the
oh
Baker Mayfield trajectory, where started as a walk-on JUCO and then kind of has risen to like this all-star college quarterback.
oh man, he's gonna get picked up immediately. I don't think he's gonna have any issue transitioning into the NFL. Will he be great? But who knows? We don't know that. But are the transition from him to from college to the NFL, teams picking him up, his mental and maturity, it's there. And like I was saying, that goes into testing with how he was on the sideline when he was scoring the touchdowns, and he just kind of was casual about it and just like, okay, this is just another game for me. 100% he is going to the Texans. They're going to swoop him up.
There is no way he goes number one, though. There's no
No,
way. No way. The what is it? It's gonna be the
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 Tennessee guy.
Bryce Young. No, it's gonna be Bryce Young from Alabama. He's the number one pick in every mock draft I have seen.
I
He
mean,
and I well, the Texans will get, I mean, we'll get into talking about that, but actually let's just transition now, unless you have more to say
no.
on the college football. Just sucks if you're a TCU fan. If you're a Georgia fan, congrats. 2 years in a row. I do think the SEC is still the best conference in college football, even though I hate that. But I do think all these NIL deals and all these transfer portals, and like players now can actually make money, and it seems like players now just want to start and play games instead of like play for a big college.
Oh
So I
yeah.
do think within, I mean, it could be 2-3 years, the entire college landscape is going to be way different. I think it's going to be,
I'm excited for it.
oh, me too. I think it, especially with the expansion of the playoff field, we're going to see more TCUs that are actually, you know, at levels where they can be national champions, and they just come out of nowhere and they just wreck people just because they gave the right deals to the right
Oh wait,
players
yeah, Texans
and
don't get
blah
the
blah
number
blah.
one. I forgot.
Yeah.
Texans don't get the number one. It's the Bears. Duh.
Well, interested you say that, Casino, because before we get into this week, uh let's go to the news of the day, which is, we're recording this Monday at 1, and at this point it is the Bears GM has come out and said, I'd only draft a quarterback at number 1 if I was quote unquote blown away by them. So is he fishing for somebody to trade a pick with him? Do you think the Bears are set with Justin Fields? What would you do, Casino, if I've already been hired by the NFL because of my amazing rule
Hmm.
changes? You've been hired as the Bears GM. You have the number 1 overall pick with the team you currently have. What do you do now that you have kind of fallen ass backwards into the number 1 spot, like the number 1 pick?
Uh, Work on my defense.
Yeah, I don't think. Do you think
No,
they are set with Justin Fields?
I think so. I would keep Justin Fields. He's shown that he's a good quarterback in multiple aspects of the game. He just needs a better team around him. He's not going to. I mean, you have those players that they don't need that team around them to be successful. He's one of those players that will need a little bit more help. But if he gets just a little more help, that team's going to be really good.
Yeah.
They need to be able to stop the ball and get the ball to him a little more. You get maybe one or two more offensive players, and then the rest of that, you just focus on defense on all the offseason.
Well, he also needs a pass catcher because remember, they
That's what I said, like
traded.
one.
Yeah, they traded him away. They traded all their defensive stars away for picks and then for Chase Claypool. And Chase Claypool has what, like 30 catches since going to the Bears. And I think we looked at him last time and he had like one touchdown. Like, he's clearly not the answer. So, but I don't think in today's NFL you can take a number one pick as the number one pick in the overall draft as a wide receiver, right? Like, that's such a deep position in college. And you look at the past couple of years and it's like DK Metcalf was in the second round. What is it? Antonio Brown was a 6-rounder. Every wide receiver the Steelers draft is good when they play on the Steelers and then they go to other teams and they either have mental breakdowns or a Chase Claypool. So I don't know what you do, but as far as quarterbacks, right now, the projected top 3 to go, not, top 3 picks in the draft, but top 3 quarterbacks to go if your team needs a quarterback is Bryce Young, Alabama quarterback, which you have the same concerns with him you do as someone like a Kyler Murray or a Tua, which is he's a small guy, but unlike Tua, he's got a big arm. He's got some mobility, but do you risk it on a quarterback of his stature in terms of size? Where are you going to get somebody like a Russell Wilson in his prime, or are you going to get somebody like a Johnny Football where it's just too small of a guy where he can't handle the hits, or, time will tell. Like,
can't throw it over the defensive line.
Yeah. The next one is CJ Stroud from Ohio State. He's I don't know, he's just one of those guys that kind of came on late and was like, is he an NFL quarterback? Like, I don't trust those guys who are just like pop for one season. I know he's had a little bit more than that, but I don't know, man. I'm not but then again, I don't really follow the draft and all that kind of stuff. And then the other guy is Will Levis, who is a quarterback from Kentucky that I couldn't tell you a literal single thing about. So I'm not, I don't think either of us are big college scouts when it comes to NFL ready players, but
yeah, no.
Well, and
There's
also
too much going on.
Yeah, even the scouts, what, you hit on like 30%, if that, of the quarterbacks you draft. So who fucking knows? And the best quarterback to ever play in the league, Tom Brady, was drafted almost in the 7th round, like the 6th round pick or whatever. Like, so nobody fucking knows. It just all comes down to the player. But let's jump into how the Bears got that first overall pick with week 18. And I mean, who would have thought the most entertaining game that day was the Texans and Colts, which were inevitably the Texans were fighting for the number 1 pick, and then they forgot they had it or wanted it, or Lovie Smith knew he was getting fired and said fuck it and was just like, let's try to win this fucking game. And they do on an insane, I believe it was 4th and 20 into a heave into the end zone. The guy catches it. The Colts defender makes one of the worst attempts at an interception you'll ever see in the league. Then they go for 2. They end up winning by 1. Davis Mills has that Mills magic. So I guess we both, as far as picks go this week, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You won 9 games this week, Casino. I won 10 because the only game we had difference was Broncos Chargers, and I picked Broncos, you picked Chargers. But you wiped the floor. Yeah, you wiped the floor with me this season. However, it restarts in the playoffs.
Yeah,
it restarts. However, I did have Georgia. You had TCU. So I actually won by 2 this week. Suck it.
No, I'm good.
But any...
Dude, I'm in a typhoon over here, dude.
Oh yeah. We were recording this in Vegas, both of us, and yeah, the weather the past couple days, maybe a week at this point, has just been
I
brutal,
feel like I'm
brutal.
on a coastal city right now.
Yeah, it's just been like what is it? Like murky and rainy and kind of just off and on for a week, which is good. We need the rain, but yeah, it's kind of depressing. But let's start with, I mean, we talked about the first round pick. Let's talk about the Chiefs, Raiders, Jaguars, Titans, where Chiefs, Raiders, the only thing I want to fucking talk about that game, I oh my God. I've never hated anything more in my football watching life than that fucking ring around the rosy bullshit play. Also, everybody's like, oh, well, it led to a touchdown. Yeah, did you also see the part where the guy almost tackled the guy who caught the ball 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage and he was being held, and that's what the penalty was, and that's why it got called back? So that dumbass stupid play also almost lost 5 yards, and it was a penalty. And then people are like, oh, but it was also a touchdown. Yeah, it was also a touchdown because two things that made it a shit play also happened. So it could have been A, a shit play, B, a penalty, or C, a touchdowns. It was all of those things. So people being like, that was a guaranteed, like, no, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. I fucking hated it. It was dumb. I've ranted about this already to you, Casino. What do you think about the game? But before we get to that, what do you think of that stupid fucking ring around the rosy play?
I mean, I didn't like it. I laughed my ass off. I really did. I thought it was hysterical, but I hated every second of it. Um, but exactly like how you're laughing, right? I couldn't believe that happened in the NFL. Like that happened in the NFL. Like touchdown celebrations are one thing. A ring around the rosy, it for your uh play call is just wow. I am happy though they beat the shit out of the Raiders because I told you I hate the Raiders now.
Yeah, for life.
Yeah,
And I'm fine with
but
that. I don't give a shit about the Raiders
apparently the
either.
Patriots come back. Apparently the Patriots are coming back next year to play the Raiders here, and too soon. Can't do it.
I mean, let's start Price Watch right now. Our tickets up, Casino.
What? Yeah, $3,000. I don't know.
Okay, so we'll start at 3,000. Well, it can only go down. But besides that, that stupid. And again, I'm not the pro, because they say NFL no fun league. I'm fine with. I think there should be taunting. I think there should be celebrations. I think most of the penalties are fucking garbage. So I'm all fun. I'm all for it being fun. What I don't like is stupid, dumb shit like that, which means nothing to the actual play. Like, it didn't fool the Raiders. That's the whole thing I keep saying, where it's like, oh my God, this crazy design play. And it's like, oh, you mean the play where if you lined up, even if you didn't do the fucking ring around the rosy thing, would still be a handoff flea flicker that you then throw back? Like, we've seen that play before. The only thing that makes it different is this stupid ring around the rosy thing. And again, the guy almost got tackled if it wasn't for a hold 5 yards behind where the line of scrimmage was. So dumb play, and also really dumb to do the last game before you play a playoff game, because now it's going to be like, everybody's going to be like, oh my God, the Chiefs, they're having such fun. They're having such fun. What do you think is going to be the number one story if the Chiefs lose their next game? Do you think it's going to be, oh, well, maybe the Chiefs should focus less on having fun and more on playing football? Like, you can already see it written in the stars. So also, Chiefs team, fans, players, two of the teams you're going to have to go through to go into the Super Bowl have A, beaten you, B, are now your biggest rivals, which is the Bengals and Bills. You better hope you never see the Bengals, because they've never beat you, or you've never beat them.
Never beat them, yeah.
And then the Bills, I mean, they have either almost beaten you or beaten you the last 3 times you've played. So, and the one time you did beat them, I believe they're 0-2, or 1-2 the last 3 times they played them. The last time you beat them was on like a miracle 26-second like comeback. So again, you're doing this in week 1. Haha, oh my God, week 1. The Chiefs must have been planning that all off season. This is fun, blah, blah, blah. To do that the week before the playoffs start, are you fucking dumb? Like, what the fuck are you doing? What was the point of it? Is what I'm saying. Like, ugh, ugh. I didn't think I would rant that much about it, but that's how much I fucking hated it, Casino. I hated it
No,
so much.
that's all good. You're all good, man.
Ugh. Let's move on. As far as the Raiders, they're a dumpster fire. The Stidham experiment worked for 1 week, and then I guess people saw tape on him and were like, "Oh, he's not that good, actually." And then he played like how you think he would have played against a Chiefs team where their defense is bottom of the league. So it's not like he was going against, the San Francisco 49ers defense, which he lit up. So again, I don't think you can hitch your wagon to him, but it's the Raiders, so who knows what they're going to do. The next game was the 7-10 Tennessee Titans at the 9-8 Jacksonville Jaguars. Winner gets in for the AFC South. The Jaguars end up doing it, Casino.
I don't know how.
I don't know how either, because at multiple times during that game,
they were getting worked.
Yeah.
Just all right. So possession. It was 36 minutes for the Titans, 23 for the Jags. First downs, 19-13. Third down efficiency, fourth down efficiency. Just Titans rolled away with it.
Yeah, and it did feel.
Dude, this is the crazy one. Rushing yards, 147-19 for Tennessee. It's the two turnovers Tennessee had, the two fumbles. And the interception, like, it was just bad. It was bad. Tennessee should have won this game. I'm happy Jacksonville won because I actually want to see Jacksonville in the playoffs rather than Tennessee.
Yeah,
I love Mike Vrabel. I just want to see what this Jaguars team could do now that they've got a little momentum. They're not complete dog shit that everybody's chalking them up to be. I hope that lights a fire under their ass that, hey, we're now in the playoffs. We did what we had to do. We won the game that, they were expected to win that game, but I'm happy for them. I'm excited to see what they do in the playoffs. Even if they're out in the first round, I want to see them play a good, strong game, which I think is possible. But I feel bad for Derrick Henry. He rushed 30 times for 107-ish yards. I think it was 107.
109.
109. But sucks for him. And you know what? And surprisingly, Dobbs played pretty well for what I expected Dobbs to play.
Yeah.
20 for 29. Yes, he had one interception, but he also had a touchdown, and he was just short of 200 yards. That's good for a quarterback that is not a starting quarterback in the NFL. In a must-win game.
I mean, he only played 2 games this year, and both of them, like, not bad. Like, not great, but again, he was third string quarterback and looked like a way better quarterback than Malik Willis ever did. So
yeah, good on him. Good on him.
But I do want to say that the crazy thing about this game, and I think you'll agree, is the score is 20-16. The Titans, it felt like every time you looked up, they just had the ball and they were like driving. And it just would seem like
13 minutes more of possession time. Like, it was,
and it felt double that.
How the Jaguars won this game is just insanity. Just insanity.
They were just the better team and they like persevered, but God, I mean, yeah, it just felt like every time you looked up, the Titans were driving and then you would like look away and all of a sudden they were punting and you were just like, what? They just went the whole length of the field and got nothing out of it. So just like the Titans, I mean, same thing with the Bucks this year have just really felt like they just could not find a way to score points. Like every Titans game, their defense was bend and don't break, to the point where it was like those videos you see where somebody's like squeezing something and you see it like, you're like, oh my God, it's going to pop. Or like those videos where people put rubber bands on like a watermelon And you're just like, how much more can this watermelon take? And then finally it just fucking exploded. And the Jaguars were able to hold off.
And everybody's shocked.
Yeah. And it was just, man, I mean, but I do agree. And the first round matchup, which we'll get to the playoff matchups, being Jaguars Chargers in Jacksonville, that's a good fucking game. For what I think is a dog shit round of wild card games, I feel like that might be the best one because that one feels like it could really go either way. Next up, we'll kind of just skip most of these because most of them really didn't matter and they were kind of just boring. Like the Panthers Saints game, I saw the highlights of only literally nothing there. Jets Dolphins we thought was going to be good, but that was ended up being 11-6. You had Joe Flacco and Skylar Thompson.
That, I mean, just to touch on that, with Patriots losing, Miami was in because there was that three-way thing where it was either Miami, Steelers, or Patriots. So yeah, that happened, and so the Steelers almost got in. So I was watching that game pretty heavily because I knew the Patriots were going to lose after the opening kickoff where he runs it down for the touchdown.
Well, let's talk about that game. Patriots, Bills. Your New England Patriots lose 23-35 to the now 13-3 Buffalo Bills. And oh, hey, wouldn't you know it, Casino? Both the Bills and Bengals won this week, but because the NFL fucking sucks, Kansas City also won, and now they're the number one seed. And this is what blows my fucking mind. Everybody before this was like, oh yeah, we'll just change the AFC Championship game to a neutral site. And then it's like, okay, what else do you get if you get the number one seed? You get a first round bye and the other playoff games in your stadium, right? So you get a first round bye, which is an extra week to rest your players late in the season. And then you play the next playoff game at home. Maybe that's also pretty valuable. Like, why? This is what I didn't fucking understand last week. Why did the NFL just be like, AFC Championship game, it's in neutral. That solves, in a neutral site, that solves all the problems. And it's like, you didn't reward the other two teams with anything. You just gave Kansas City everything and then was like, oh, but, to go to the Super Bowl, you have to play one game away. And it's just like, okay, what about the other two things? Like, and the Bengals organization has obviously come out and bitched about it. I don't think the Bills organization has said anything, but they're probably not fucking happy considering they are one win away from being the number one seed. Like the Bengals, they would still have been, I think the Chiefs would have won. They would have still been the 2 seed. Or no, they still would have been the 3 seed regardless, but it also, there was a chance. Again, that the Raiders-Chiefs game is way different if the Chiefs now have to win to assure home field advantage and number one seed, and they're playing with that pressure because they went into the Raiders game with like all this fucking like, oh yeah, who gives a shit? We're a game ahead and there's nothing they can do.
Let's go do ring around the rosy shit.
Yeah. I bet they're not fucking doing that shit if it's, if it's a Packers Lions situation where Raiders can't get in and they know they can stop Kansas City from getting the number one seed. Like we saw what that kind of motivation against a division rival does. But again, and also I listened to our episode last week. I wanted to clarify one thing, Casino. I was saying cancel the this week and just move it to next week. I figured out that wouldn't have worked because the Bengals Bills would have had one extra week where they still didn't play a game. So I thought in my head, like, oh, how would I fix what I said last week? Literally do exactly what I said. Play Bengals Bills. You can have this exact week happen next week. Give everybody a week off. Technically, the Bills and Bengals had like a week off, right? Because they only played for half a quarter. You let Bengals Bills play again next Monday night, but you make that game a neutral site. So you take the AFC Championship, whatever it was, the AFC Championship dumbass idea. You give that to the Bills and the Bengals. You make them play like I think they were looking for AFC Championship game to like go to like the Colts Stadium. So you let Bengals Bills play in Colts Stadium. Nobody gets the advantage there. It's not a division rival. It's not somebody they play often, right? You let them play Monday night. You do a whole big thing for DeMar Hamlin. Maybe have him come out there, wish both teams the luck, shake the team captain's hands, blah, blah, blah. And then you just play the game like you normally would. And then you give them up. Now Sunday, you have to play this schedule, right? You have to play Bengals, you have to play Ravens, Bills, you have to play Patriots, and then we just go from there. How is that less dumb than just being like these two teams who could get home field advantage and a week off up? We don't want them to play this game again. This game again that if both teams win this week, they will play next week. So again, it's fucking dumb. I hate it. I hate it. It would have solved literally all the issues. And now we've created a bunch of other issues because now that whole thing was to avoid the Bills and Bengals playing. Well, Bengals and Bills are going to play now because of how you fucking seeded it. So, and guess what? It's not supposed to be seeded like this. So again, the NFL fucked themselves by trying to not fuck themselves. Ugh. There's your rant for today. There's your rant for today. As far as Bengals or Patriots Bills, I mean, that game went how pretty much everybody expected it to. The Bills just came out with the emotion of the world on their fucking shoulders, returned the first kickoff for a touchdown. At that point, did you just throw up your hands and we're like, all right, it's done?
Yeah, no, done. I turned on Red Zone.
Yeah, it's like you're not coming back.
I turned on Red Zone.
Yeah. As far, and you know what the crazy thing is? That was maybe Mac Jones' best game of this season, passing wise.
Interceptions.
I know, but I'm saying before the 3 interceptions, he was playing pretty damn good. I don't know. Yeah, but as far,
it was nice to have Parker back there for a minute because he made a couple good catches, and they needed him in those losses that they had that were close games to not even be in that situation.
How? So it's been what? Going on 3 years removed from the Tom Brady era. How close do you think this current iteration of this Patriots team is away? Like, how close do you think they are to being, I wouldn't say Brady level, but contenders in the AFC?
Could be a while. Honestly, they need to actually. They don't have Tom Brady to run the show anymore. They actually need help. The defense is always going to be strong. The Belichick's, Steve Belichick, Bill Belichick, they know how to run that defense. Even with not the best defensive players, they can still have somewhat of a decent defense. The offense is the issues because they never get weapons. They don't spend money for weapons. They just don't care about the offense. We're a defensive-minded team. They need to do something. They're going to get rid of a lot of people. Not making the playoffs is kind of probably a blessing for the Patriots organization because I guarantee you Kraft, last time the Patriots didn't make the playoffs, Kraft started spending money. I think that's going to happen again this time. They didn't make the playoffs. Everybody's pissed. Start changing everything. Get different players in, get rid of players. Start spending money. I think they're a little ways away. Is the coaching the issue? I don't think the coaching is the issue because I think with what they have, the team's actually pretty good for what they have. Also, get a real offensive coordinator.
Well, that's what I was going to say. The coaching's good on this staff minus, the offensive coordinator. If you guys get like a legit offensive coordinator, one of the coaches, like get Cliff Kingsbury in there. Why not? He's shown to be, well, probably because he'll go get a college job, but get somebody who's like of that ilk, like an offensive mind who, just once a year where he's not the face of a franchise and kind of gets to stand up to the side a little. Like, I feel like your team could, especially in that division where you never know where you're getting with the Jets. The Dolphins, I mean, they started 7-3 and somehow missed the playoffs. And obviously that has to do with
No,
Tua,
the
but
Dolphins made the playoffs,
I'm sorry. The Dolphins, yeah, but
but they almost didn't make the playoffs. Yeah.
yeah. So I don't know. In a division with the Jets and obviously the Bills are, the cream of the crop now, but in the AFC, I feel like anything's possible, right? Like every year you go into the AFC thinking the Chargers are going to be contenders, thinking the Raiders, thinking the Broncos. Why not the Patriots? Because inevitably the Broncos pull what they did. The Raiders have been a dumpster fire our entire lives. Like, yeah, I don't know. I would feel optimistic if I was a Patriots fan because again, it feels like a couple small fixes and what you guys get 3 more wins this season with a
Oh yeah.
competent offensive coordinator. Like, yeah, then you're in over the Dolphins, and then when you get in the playoffs, who fucking knows?
Right.
Uh,
And just a quick shout out because we've talked about it. Ramondre Stevenson, over 1,000 yards rushing. Good for him. First career over 1,000 yards. Good for him. That's awesome to see.
yeah. As far as the other noteworthy games, let's see that we don't really have to talk about. Bengals win against the Ravens. They're kind of locked in now to the 3rd spot. Vikings beat the Bears. Let's see. Falcons beat the Bucks. Nothing could really change. Tom Brady was out there for a little bit, but then they pulled him. 49ers demolished the Cardinals. Obviously, 49ers game and Eagles game is going on at the same time, so they had to play their starters. Eagles win in what was an ugly game, but people are acting like it was an ugly game because Jalen Hurts didn't play well. If you watch that game, the game plan was don't let anyone touch Jalen Hurts. So there was an internal clock in his head and the coaching staff's head where it was like, we're going to make him throw the ball every 1 second after it snapped. So,
oh, for sure.
There was no running plays. The running plays he did have, he didn't try to go for any extra yards. He either threw it out of bounds or just ran to the line or whatever. And it was just, yeah, you could tell it was a very.
I mean, the game wasn't close until the 4th, and then the Giants started to come back, and the Eagles had control of this game.
Yeah, pretty much the entire time. It was one of the most boring Eagles-Giants games I've ever seen. And it was also, you could tell, the only thing I wanted going into this game, and I said it last podcast, a win and no Pro Bowlers to get hurt. Nobody got hurt, and they got a win. I don't care if it was 6-0. What I wanted to happen happened. Now they are the number 1 seed in the NFC, and the playoffs go through Philly. And
also, what you wanted to happen happened.
What?
Dallas lost.
So let's talk about that. So the 49ers and the Eagles took care of business. The 49ers and the Vikings, all top 3 NFC teams that were still, could get number 1 seed if Eagles lost, so they had to play their starters, blah, 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 blah. What also weirdly happened was the Eagles, pretty much by halftime, you could tell they were winning that game. It wasn't really, people are acting like it was close based on the score. Like, it was pretty much garbage time touchdown that made it close. Like, there was never a time in this game where I thought, oh, Eagles are losing. It just, you could feel it wasn't happening.
Right.
As far as the Cowboys, they were playing the same time as the Eagles game with a chance to win the East, and then I believe they would have been the 3rd seed, so they would have jumped up 2 spots.
Right.
They left all their starters in, and Dak Prescott throws a terrible, I believe it was pick 6, wasn't it?
He had an awful game. Awful game.
So he was 14 for 37, 128 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, played the entire game.
Dobbs did better than him.
Yeah. The Dallas Cowboys, now 12-5, lose to the 8-1 Washington Commanders, 26-6. And the Commanders were playing Sam Howell in his first career start. 3rd string quarterback
in the world.
Yeah. Well, that is So the takeaway from this game, obviously me and Casino are both Cowboys haters. If you love the Cowboys, literally watch any other sports show and you'll get a 45-minute segment about how good the Cowboys are. Every show now on ESPN or Fox Sports has like a former Cowboy or a Cowboy diehard, and it's just like there's 32 teams in the league, but that one fan has to be on every fucking show. So forgive us for breaking the fucking mold of 99 other shows like us having Cowboys diehards. But the issue coming out of this game, Casino, is the Cowboys played their starters the entire game and were trying to win it. So you can't even do the thing of like, oh, well, they were just trying to get some reps in before the playoffs start. Like, no, they were trying to win this game because if they won it and the Eagles lost, they moved up in playoff positioning. So if you're a Cowboys fan, how confident are you going into the playoffs where you're playing a team earlier in the year that kind of low-key dominated you and beat you in the Tampa Bay Bucks?
I can't wait for Brady to beat him. I think it's gonna happen. I truly do.
Well, Tom Brady also 7-0 in his career against the Cowboys, and they're playing in Tampa Bay. This game,
Dallas has to travel.
Yes, and this game took place at Washington. So the Cowboys really do look like night and day, and I feel like nobody's talking about it. They play their worst games on the road.
Right. Do you think the Cowboys, well, obviously, because they're not going to get the home field calls. Do you really think that the Dallas offense is going to be able to go up against this Tampa defense?
Well, I actually have the defensive stats pulled up, Casino. So the Tampa Bay Bucks finished the season 10th in yards per game and 14th in points per game allowed. So they are top half of the league in terms of defensive stats, however you want to phrase it. They are one of, I believe I saw it somewhere, they're dead in the middle when it comes to rush yards allowed per game, and they are 9th in pass yards per game. So this is
they're an above average defense, right? So
exactly. They are they're top 10 in most passing categories. Rushing, you can run a little on them. So, but I think when it comes to, and we can segue, we'll go back and talk about the Lions and Packers in a bit, but let's segue right now to the wild card matchups. So the wild card matchups, the last game, which they are doing Monday night, is the Cowboys Tampa Bay Bucks, we are just talking about 12-5 Cowboys at 8-9 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Do you officially, we're doing picks now, Casino, do you officially call the Buccaneers to beat the Cowboys?
I call the Bucks to win. Yes. Again, I'm not going to go against Tom Brady until he loses. Until he's out of the league, I'm not going to go against Brady in the playoffs.
Yeah. And especially
unless it's a highly definitive, I know that they're going to lose.
Yeah. And this one
I don't.
Well, especially considering we just saw Tom Brady in, like, I don't really count that last game they played because he was kind of just out there, it looked like kind of making sure there was no rust going into the playoffs. But the last real game we saw him play, he turned it on. It was Tom Brady being Tom Brady, and he fucking lit it up when he had to. That was the thing, right? They needed to win that game.
The protection gave him a little bit more time.
And he was able to score touchdowns.
Yeah, because he's able to read the defense, and he can do it. He's going to eat you alive if you give him 3 seconds. You give him a second and a half, that's tough for any quarterback to get the ball out. So, yeah, I'm tired of hearing this narrative of Brady's washed up, Brady's old, get him out here. The dude's throwing almost anywhere from 40 to 50 passing attempts a game, and that's just on a young quarterback. That would take a toll on you for a season. And then he also has this offensive line that doesn't give him more than 3 seconds to pass a football. So
yeah. And
I can't wait for this game. I'm so excited. I'll be at work for this game. I will have it on. I will have the sound on. And I have a decent amount of Cowboy fans that come to my work. So I can't wait for that to happen. My
Uh
coworker's a Tampa Bay fan, so
oh, see, there you
I'm
go.
excited for that too.
So to give the Cowboys their due, they are literally right below or right above Tampa Bay, right around that kind of 13, 14, 12 area when it comes to yards per game allowed by pass and just yards total. They are, however, one of the best teams in the league in sacks. They are top 4 in sacks. But again, are these numbers skewed to the middle of the season when they were just going off, right? Because I don't think anybody has been scared or impressed by the Cowboys defense in the last month and a half? I mean, they let, Gardner Minshew almost put up 40 points on them. They give up 3 touchdowns more than their offense can gain against the Commanders. They give up 40 points to the Jaguars. They give up 23 points, almost 30 to the Texans. They blow out the Colts, and then they almost lose to the Giants. They lose to the Packers and hold the Vikings to 3. So, again, the impressive one on that list is the Vikings game. But other than that, and like the Colts game, this hasn't been a defense that has really, done anything in the past 2 months.
Yeah, I agree with that totally.
I'm
So
also I am also picking the Tampa Bay Bucks.
this is and just to clarify, this is not because you are an Eagles fan and you hate the Cowboys. This is just I truly think that Tampa's going to beat
Yeah.
the Packers.
No,
Or the
I
Packers,
mean,
the Cowboys. I hate both teams. The Cowboys. So,
I mean, could I see the Cowboys winning this game? Absolutely. But if
oh
they
yeah,
lose to it, I'm not going to be shocked. Like if the Dolphins or Ravens or Seahawks win, I feel like I'll be shocked. If the Cowboys or Bucks win that game, I don't think I'll be surprised either way, unless it's like a blowout either way, which I don't think it will be. Um, let's move before we go to the rest of the games, Casino. Let's move to the one, or I guess last 2 notable games. Obviously, Seahawks Rams. Seahawks win to get into the playoffs after the who had to lose for them to get, or no, it was if the Seahawks won,
yeah. So
it
how
knocked the Lions out
yeah.
of the playoffs.
So how it played out? Uh, if Seahawks won, Detroit was out regardless. If Seahawks lost, then Detroit versus Green Bay winner get in, which that's what I was hoping for, and I thought it was going to happen when that Seahawks kicker missed and hit the upright. Oh,
Yeah.
I was so excited. I thought that the Rams were going to be able to do it in overtime, but did not. And sadly, Detroit's out, and I'm very sad to see Detroit not make it. We talked about it. How awesome would that have been to see Detroit versus number one offense throughout multiple times throughout the year versus the number one defense multiple times throughout the year. Like,
Yeah.
that would have been just amazing to see.
And
But
I
with
also
that,
feel like it would have been a great game because we've also
oh,
already seen 49ers
100%.
Seahawks 2 times this season.
Yeah, 100%. So I'm very excited, though, and very happy for multiple reasons that Detroit beat Green Bay. Detroit beat Green Bay.
In Green
Really,
Bay.
yeah, in Green Bay. The Lions get a winning season. Fuck off. It's so great. I'm so happy for them.
Yeah.
All these Lions haters out there just because they're the Lions. They played a really good game and in Lambeau. And man, is Rodgers hurting after this one. But I'm
Well,
happy they
also,
lost.
can we finally kill the narrative that Aaron Rodgers is at all clutch? Like, there's
Oh,
a difference
it
between
needs to be killed.
clutch and throwing a Hail Mary and your guy catching it. Those are not the same things.
Oh, 100%. 100%. I totally agree with that. Um, he, the Packers have a history of that. Brett Favre did that as well. And I always made fun of it where it's like he closes his eyes and throws the football.
Mm-hmm.
That and somehow the receiver receivers catch it. That's what Rodgers has had multiple times throughout his career.
Is he good at it? Absolutely. We're not saying he isn't, but stop. I always see people saying Rodgers is clutch because of those. Those are two separate things.
100%.
We've seen Rodgers how many times in these must-win games to either get into the playoffs or scenarios in the playoffs where it's like, okay, the ball's in Rodgers' hands. All he has to do is, go and score a touchdown or set him up for a field goal, and then he just shits the bed. There's a reason he has only won one Super Bowl, and he's only won one Super Bowl and kind of not been close.
Also, I got breaking news from Bleacher Report. My brother just sent me this. Apparently, Cardinals plan to trade Hopkins in the offseason.
Whoa. That's huge. As we, I don't even think we're going to touch on it, but we can now. Or I think I already did mention it a little. But Cliff Kingsbury, after that article we read, I think it was last episode where there was turmoil between him and Murray. They decided to fire him after, I believe, 4 seasons. I said maybe he goes to the Patriots. He probably goes back to college, gets a head coaching job. But yeah,
Hopkins is out. I will give us Hopkins, please. Just give the Patriots something. Anyway, so news. So going back to the Green Bay game, another reason I'm happy Green Bay lost is that we just had a player injured really bad last week, and then you have number 90 Jarron Reed come up and elbow the dude while he was on the ground, elbowed him to the head.
Yeah, there was a bunch of shit.
I'm surprised
like
that he didn't get thrown out, but then also you have the Packers player oh my gosh, Quay Walker pushing one of the trainers for the Lions. And people are so dumb. I see them saying, "Oh, well, the trainer put his hands on him first and try to get him out of the way." Yeah, that's his fucking job. His job is to get. Why is Walker standing right there? He should be away from that. That's not his teammate. And even if it was his teammate, back up. You're not a medical
so he can get
you
help.
don't know what the hell you're doing. Get the fuck out of the way.
That seemed weird move.
And then he pushes him in the back. Like, was it an egregious push? No, it wasn't. But this is the second time that he's pushed and laid hands on an opposing team's staff member this season. And I laughed when I was reading his apologies about it. His tweet apologies about it. It's bullshit. Absolute bullshit. Oh yeah, I just need to be better. I know that I shouldn't be doing that, especially since this is now the second time. And he kept reiterating the second time because he obviously, if he just said, "Oh, I just need to be better," everybody would be like, "Well, you've already done it once this year." So he kept bringing up, "Oh, I've already done it once this year" himself, but he was laying it on thick that he had already done it and that he needs to be better. Just fucking don't do it. So let me ask this: do you think the Packers cut him?
No, because he's a first-round pick. They made him issue an apology. I'm sure somebody on the team talked to him. They're hoping it'll blow over the offseason, which it most definitely will. And then, like the Mac Jones dirty hit narrative, everybody will forget about it and won't bring it up unless something like that happens again. And then it'll be like, why does this guy keep doing this? And then it'll be a story for a week and then we'll forget about it. That's just how the news cycle, not only sports, that's just how news cycles work. So they won't cut him. No, the Packers aren't in the playoffs. Nobody will talk about the Packers in the offseason except for when it comes to, will Aaron Rodgers retire? Will he not come back? I think I speak for you and me when I say neither of us give a shit. If he comes back, if he doesn't, if he goes to another team, we'll talk about it when it happens, but I don't want to be one of these podcasts that is just like, is Aaron Rodgers retiring? Like the whole the most ironic part of this whole thing is Aaron Rodgers the past couple of years has transformed into the very thing he hated the most, which is Brett Favre, because they hated each other when they were together. You could clearly tell Aaron Rodgers the couple years after that would always just take subtle digs and not so subtle digs at Brett Favre and how he handled the whole Packers thing. And now he is doing the exact same thing to the organization and Jordan Love. If he does leave, I'm assuming he goes to the handful of teams everybody thinks Brady's going to go to. You have Tennessee, you have the Raiders, you have the Colts. Like, it's the same people, it's the same teams. And if he does go to that, we'll talk about it when it happens. But I think this is all the speculation I'm going to do on it because, to be honest, I don't care. I think he's done. And maybe he retires. And again, we'll talk about it when it happens. Anything to add on that, Casino?
No, not at all.
Last game, and then we'll go to the wild cards and just stick over there. The Chargers Broncos game. The score doesn't matter because neither of these teams could change anything. The Broncos winning doesn't matter because they don't have a first round pick as it is.
Herbert only played 3 quarters.
That was my question. Why this game didn't matter to the Chargers at all. Right? Them winning or losing does not change their draft status. They gain nothing from it. Why is Staley, their coach, why is he starting any starters, especially the franchise's, most valuable asset, maybe since, LaDainian Tomlinson or that era of Chargers football? Why the fuck does he have Justin Herbert out there against one of the hardest hitting defenses in the league?
I don't know.
Well, and then they lose.
Why was Tom Brady out there for 2 quarters?
Well, again, I have no fucking idea. Mike Williams gets carted off the field. So again, worst possible situation happens where they lose a wide receiver in a meaningless game that he didn't need to play in. What is it? There was another, I think, offensive lineman or defensive lineman that also got hurt in that game. Again, dumb shit. But let's transition to what I think, and I've already said I think, is the best wild card game this week. Chargers at Jaguars, Saturday night. 10-7 Los Angeles Chargers at 9-8 Jacksonville Jaguars. Who you got in this one, Casino?
This is going to be a fun one. Man, I'm going to roll with the Charge. Oh man, I don't know. Give me a second on this one. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to roll with the Chargers on this one. I just yes, I know that they lost them, but I still put Herbert to play better when he needs to win a game. He'll win a game over Lawrence. That's just it. This is going to actually be a fun game to watch. As you already kind of said, probably the only notable fun wild card game.
Maybe besides Cowboys Bucks. Like those two seem like the standout games where it's like, who's going to win?
Cowboys Bucks. But I mean, I don't know. I guess Minnesota and Giants is a little intriguing, but I don't know. But this game should be fun because I feel like these 2 teams are almost the exact same team.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know.
And I just found it here. Rashawn Slater was the one who was also injured in this game, the offensive lineman. He will return to practice this week, but is already ruled out against the Jaguars. So great job, Chargers organization. You lost your second best wide receiver and maybe your best offensive lineman in the game. So again, you didn't play. And
are you going to pick Jaguars?
I am picking the Jaguars actually, because I feel like looking at the slate of wild card games, there always has to be that one game where everybody's like, kind of like that team won against that game or that team, right? Last year it was the Bengals kept beating everybody that everybody was like, no way the Bengals win this game. I think the Jaguars are the team where, especially considering how shitty they looked against the Titans and still pulled it out, I feel like everybody, all the money, everything's going to be on the Chargers, and then it's going to be the Jaguars pull it out in the end, and everybody's kind of like, how did they win? Blah, blah, blah. My son came in here making dinosaur noises. But I am, if he would have made Jaguar noises coming in, that would have been crazy. But I do think the Jaguars pull this game off. I really think this is maybe the only upset, unless you consider the Giants beating the Vikings as being an upset. But I don't know. The other Saturday, so we have 2 Saturdays, 3 Sundays, 1 Monday. The other Saturday earlier in the day game is the Seahawks miraculously winning with some of the worst officiating I've ever seen in a game against the Rams. 9-8 Seahawks at 13-4 San Francisco 49ers. Isn't the line on this game like 10.5 or something fucking crazy like that?
I had just backed out of it. Oops. Yeah, I think you're pretty spot on right there. A 9.5, yeah.
So any chance, Casino, any chance the Seahawks win this game?
No. None.
I don't.
Zero.
I don't think so either. I would honestly.
Fun fact, we're talking about that, and we're saying the Chargers Jacksonville. It's a pick 'em right now.
It's a what?
It's a pick 'em
for Jacksonville Chargers. Yeah,
as of current,
I could see that. Yeah, like you said, those two teams seem very similar to me. But yeah, I think this is maybe the worst playoff game on the slate because we've seen it twice this season and both games weren't even close to begin with. So the only, I guess, saving grace if you're a Seahawks fan is it's really hard to beat the same team 3 times in the same season. Like that's maybe what you're holding your head off on, or your hat on. But I mean, Seahawks go into 49ers and beat them. I don't think there would be a more shocking result this offseason than that happening. This is the game I feel like I would lock in, like 49ers win by 3 scores. Let's move on to just the Sunday slate, which are rough, man.
Yeah, this is a rough one. I think the Giants, Minnesota is probably going to be the only decent one.
Yeah. 9-8 Miami Dolphins at 13-3 Buffalo Bills. Who the fuck knows who's going to start for this Dolphins team at quarterback? I'm assuming Bridgewater will be back. There's a chance Tua plays. I doubt it. But then there's Skylar Thompson. So we're going to see a third string quarterback against what some people, I think maybe us included, think is the best team in this playoffs, which is the Buffalo Bills. You know, you could say Buffalo, you could say Cincinnati, you could say Chiefs, you could say Eagles. They're at least in the mix as one of the best, most complete teams in the playoffs. Again,
I think these the top 5 to 6 teams in the playoffs this year this is going to be fun.
Yeah, and I feel like it's going to be fun after we get past this weekend, right? This weekend seems like the appetizer for like the real meal. And most years it doesn't feel like that. I feel like this is one of the worst wild card weekends.
They added the 7th team.
Yeah.
They added the shitty 17.
Well, also like all the good teams that could maybe be threats are dealing with like really significant injuries, like the next game we're going to talk about, which is Ravens-Bengals. Like, is Lamar Jackson playing in this game? I think there's reports that he wants to or he could, but I don't know. Also, the news breaking as of 1 hour ago is a bunch of Cincinnati Bengals websites are running articles about did the Ravens play dirty in their last game because the Bengals and Ravens just played, and then if the Ravens would have beat them, there would have been like a coin flip or something like that. I don't know.
Again, by the way, when Cincy scored their first touchdown this last weekend, the player pulls out a coin and flips it in the end zone. Phenomenal. Did you end up watching that clip?
I did. I love when divisional rivals troll each other. Like the Cowboys-Eagles game, Devontae Smith acted like he put a ski mask on and then started acting like he was stealing presents from that Salvation Army, thing the Cowboys always like jump into. Just when it's good, it's good. And that was good. This Cincinnati one was good. if Lamar Jackson plays, I don't even feel like I'd either have any more hope in the Ravens because again, he's not played for almost 2 months. So I don't think you can not play for 2 months and then come in against one of the best defenses in the league and
Yeah,
hope to put
they're
up
not going to let
points.
him run they're not going to let him run.
Yeah.
Again, we've talked about it. His passing game is decent, but he's got to be able to have a good run game to obviously, that's how that works. Good running game gives you a good pass game. Good pass game gives you a good run game back and forth. But his pass game isn't elite. So you need to have a good run game. But if they're just going to stop that and force you to throw, he wouldn't be able to do it. Not enough to win. He would be fine, but not enough to win.
So the real story, even if Lamar Jackson plays, the real story is going to be Joe Burrow against this Ravens defense. Ravens defense, a top 10 defense in the league. They just signed Roquan Smith to a $100 million deal right before we started this podcast. So congrats to him for getting the bag, as the kids say. But yeah, ever since he's came, that is what they say. They also say no cap or cap. That means lying or not lying.
So where did cap come from? Little segment. Where did that come from?
I have no idea. Like, my son and his 11-year-old nephew say it all the time.
Slap and cap.
Yeah.
So slap is bad and cap is good?
No. Cap is bad. If something slaps, it's good. Like, this is really good, so it slaps.
Okay, yeah. So I've heard that plenty before.
If you're lying, you're capping. You're doing cap.
So where did cap though come? Like, why?
I have no idea. No cap casino, I don't know. And no cap means you're not lying. so no cap. I don't know where it came from. Yeah, they don't. And right there, we just got all the young demographic we need. Right there, we got all the 10 to 16-year-olds. I don't know who says cap. I know my 10-year-old does. But
backhand him. Next time he says that in front of me, I'm just gonna say
you'll see him this Sunday.
But there you go. That's right. This Sunday. I forgot.
So we also, to get back on track here, no cap. Let's get back on track. We're both picking the Bengals. We're both picking the Bills. We're both picking the 49ers. We're split on Chargers, Jags, and then we're split. Or no, we both think Bucks will win. This is the game I am most interested to talk to you about, and why I saved it for last. The New York Giants at 9-7-1 go to Minnesota 13-4. So the Vikings, last time these two teams played, had to hit a 60-plus yard field goal to win. The Vikings have miraculously, like, the worst margin of victory in the history of the NFL in terms of, we also did that thing where if all one-score games flipped, the Vikings would have won like one game or something crazy like that. Nobody believes in the Vikings. I've heard and listened to a lot of shows talking about how the Giants are maybe the best team in the playoffs nobody's talking about. Where do you come on this side of the argument, Casino?
I can see what they're saying about the Giants. Again, they just showed they played the Eagles tough when I still think the Eagles, are a Super Bowl contender. So, man, I just don't want to give up on the Vikings. But they are such a hit or miss team. It comes down to which team shows up, because you can have that team that comes out and is a Super Bowl team. You have that team. So I don't know. This one is a tough one. I'm just going to go Minnesota because it is in Minnesota, little tiny soda. But would I be shocked if the Giants win this game? None. I would not. They have every potential to win this game. But I think that the Minnesota Vikings are going to pull it off in Minnesota, even if it has. Why do I have to say it like that? Why can't I just say Minnesota?
You started this podcast cultural appropriating Jamaica. Now it's Minnesota. If we don't get canceled, that's why we won't have a second episode this week.
I turn into what I'm wearing or what I'm talking about. It's just what it is. You should see me when I've been over to England a few times, or if I go, oh God, it's bad. Yeah, no, it's bad.
Also,
It's
you
it's
and your blackface. I mean, just the worst
uh,
accents.
well, that's the end of this podcast.
Casino's never done blackface that I know of. I've never done blackface. I do know that. So if you can find a picture out there, I'd be shocked. Shocked
Yeah,
for
me
me
too.
because I know I've never done it. For Casino, I'd be like 20% shocked. All right, keep going, Casino.
20% shocked. Yeah. Thanks for the high praise there.
Yeah.
Ugh,
But
but
yeah.
yeah, man. So
uh
I think Tiny Soda is gonna win this one. I think Jefferson is still having th- an insane season, and I think that he's gonna do enough, even if it is like another, um, you know, crazy ending like Vikings had that the other year, or if it's another 60-yard field goal, whatever it could be. I think the Vikings will pull it off barely. I think the -3 is damn accurate. It may
yeah.
come down to just a field goal. They may be tied going into the last 30 seconds of this game. So I'm going Vikings because they're at home, and I've seen wild things happen in Minnesota win
Yeah.
playoffs. So that's all I'm going to say.
Well, we know this game ends one of two ways. It ends in a close game that comes down to the final play, which we know Minnesota wins those games, right? I don't think
Or
they've
Giants
lost
are just going to
one this
roll them.
week. Or it's going to be a blowout where the Giants win by 4 touchdowns. Those are the only two games the Vikings play. They either get rolled on or they barely squeak out a victory. Which one happens? I have no fucking idea, but I'm picking the Giants. And as an Eagles fan, the three teams I'm legitimately scared to play in the playoffs are number one 49ers by a large margin, right? Like they just look like the most
Just
complete
NFC?
team. Yeah, in the NFC I'm talking about. Yeah. They are number 1. Giants are number 2. And Giants are number 2 only because, again, like I was saying with Seahawks 49ers, it's really hard to beat a team 3 times in the same season. When you've already seen them twice, the first time the Eagles blew them out, second game, the Giants played them tough. I'm not going to say that game wasn't tough and it was with backups. So again, maybe they did that because they were hiding what they actually had a second time around with the Eagles. But again, they're a well coached team. They're hard hitting. They play tough. They know what they are and they play to their strengths. I would be scared to play the Giants. And then the third team I would be scared about would be to play the Bucks. They beat the Eagles last year. It's Tom Brady in the playoffs. Like, how would you not be scared of that? Yeah. The other, the Cowboys, Vikings, Seahawks. Neither, I mean, obviously, I'm scared when my team plays anybody in the playoffs, but I would prefer to play those 3 teams compared to the 3 teams I just mentioned. So I'm picking the Giants, which would mean they would go to Philadelphia next week, and then I would be scared to pick them. But I actually sent you a message that I'm going to pull up, Casino. And do you disagree with the message I sent you, which is dream scenario for next week would be 49ers versus Vikings and Eagles versus Tampa in terms of like storyline and matchups?
When did yeah, you sent me a lot of shit. I just don't look at it. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm pulling it up now. So yeah, dream scenario for next week: 49ers for Vikings, Eagles versus Tampa. Oh, so like the week after.
Yeah. For after wild card for the divisional round, do you think those would be the best matchups? Like outside of who we think's going to win and all that kind of stuff. What do you think would be the most interesting matchups for next week that could happen?
If the what you have given to me, if it turns out this way, uh, um, Bills Bengals definitely, and then Eagles Tampa, because Niners and Vikings, I think the Niners would destroy that. But yeah, Bills Bengals and Eagles Tampa, because I like Tom. I like Tom Brady, and I like to see what that team will do. He's different. He's a different guy in the playoffs. But
Yeah.
man, Bills Bengals,
Well,
I
then
still
on
want to
the
see that game.
flip side, AFC, I don't think there's anybody who would disagree with Chargers Chiefs for the third time and then Bills Bengals for the second time. So
Getting that buzz too?
Yes, our group chat is calling us right now.
Yeah,
We're doing a
actually, and it's funny.
podcast.
It's the guy that we won on the podcast all the time. So I'm going to join this video call. Let's
Wow,
see here.
live on the air.
Oh, Jeff, you are live. You are live. Say hi to the fans. You are live on the podcast.
There's
There he
just
is.
space.
There he is. That's our man. Oh man, now we got Tom. Oh, this is live
Oh
on the
wow,
podcast,
Tommy's
my
on the
friends. This is
podcast. What's going
fantastic.
on, Tommy?
Woo!
Wearing a
All
beanie.
right.
He's taking your beanie game.
Oh,
All right.
I'm the only one that can wear a beanie right now, sir. This is
But
fantastic.
could you hang up on him so we can finish the podcast?
Yeah, okay, bye guys. That was fun. That was fun though. I liked that.
Yeah, our first 2 guests on the podcast. There you go.
If you want to cut that out, you can cut that out. But
no,
I think
that's staying
phenomenal.
in. Their
Now
beautiful
they may
faces
actually
are
watch the
staying in.
podcast.
Yeah, to see what part they came in at. But yeah, in terms of
That was fantastic. You're mad at me now. It's fine.
No, I like that. I'm glad they got to be on the podcast. We've been saying they would be the first 2 on the podcast, and now they were. There you go.
Fair enough.
But yeah, so how do you see
bigger than yours?
How do you see these playoffs playing out, Casino? Let's go from the wild card. Who do you think makes it to the Super Bowl, NFC, AFC? Just right now.
Right now,
If you had to
right
bet
now,
your money on it.
Bills, Eagles.
Bills, Eagles would be your choice.
Yep. Then if it wasn't Bills, Eagles, if it's not Bills, Eagles, it's gonna be Bengals, Niners.
Ooh, that's interesting. And you know what? I had it written down right here. My exact 2 choices of what I think the matchups will be. I really do think Bengals, they just feel like a better team than they were last year, and they were good enough last year to get to the playoffs. I don't think either the Bills or Chiefs want to play the Bengals. I feel like the Chiefs would much rather play the Bills because they know they can beat them. The Chiefs definitely don't want to play the Bengals because they've never beat Joe Burrow. And he just does just enough in those games to win. And they also have that confidence of the Chiefs. Interestingly enough, neither of us have the Chiefs going to the playoffs. So who do you think they lose to?
Man, I whoever they have to play against, man. They'll say your scenario keeps playing out and they have to play the Chargers after the wild card round, or if it's not the Chargers, and it's oh my gosh, who would
the Jaguars?
Yeah, if it's the Jaguars, Chiefs are going to be either one of those teams. So I see them losing to either the Bills or the Bengals. I really do.
Yep.
The Bengals have their number. They know how to play that team. Everybody says it's hard to beat a team 3 times. Well, this would be 4 times. They've already done the 3 times. Just might as well keep it rolling.
Yeah.
Hell, the Patriots, and there's a couple other teams that have, but I know the Patriots one offhand that they've beaten the Jets 14 times in a row. Like it is possible to beat a team. Yes, the Jets aren't the same caliber, but it's tough to do that in the NFL. So I just still think that they would lose to either the Bills or the Bengals. I would, if I had to put money on it, which I don't bet. If I was putting money on it, that's what would happen is Bills or Bengals, whoever wins that game, if it comes down to those 2 teams, they're going to beat the Chiefs. They're going to beat the Chiefs. Even though it's played at a neutral site and all that shit, they'll still have to beat the Chiefs. And we talked about it last episode. That's actually going to help the away team. Like, yeah, it's not ideal. You're not playing in your arena, but your stadium, but you're not playing in the opposing stadium. Yep. I would not want to play to Arrowhead. Anytime the Patriots had to go play in Arrowhead, I'm scared shitless of that stadium.
One of the hardest ones to play in.
I'd rather play in Buffalo. I'd rather play in Miami, even though the Patriots always have sucked in Miami. I don't like just talking about in division stuff, but I get scared even before the Chiefs were good. I got scared of the Patriots playing in Arrowhead because that place is just a loud, noisy, scary place to play.
Yeah. And I think the dream scenario for, if we're just going like what everyone wants to see from both sides, I think either. Really, in the AFC, I think Chiefs versus either Bengals or Bills in, a neutral site. I think that's what everybody wants to see. You either want to see the rematch from last year where the Chiefs beat them, or that divisional round game. You want to see the rematch of, Mahomes and Josh Allen in the playoffs. I think on the NFC side, I mean, is there any other scenario, if you're not a fan of one of the teams in the NFC, if you're just like a fan of football games, is there any game outside of Eagles 49ers that people want to see? I don't think so.
That's gonna be the NFC Championship game. I would be shocked if it's not.
Yeah, I would be too. And I am shitting bricks thinking about that game because, as I said, the Niners are the one team that scares me. So I will be rooting with all my heart for the 49ers to lose, even though I don't hate the 49ers. I always like the 49ers.
Neither do I. And that's what it's so like. Say it comes down to either I'm taking the Chiefs out of it. I'm not going to root for the Chiefs. If the Chiefs get through, I'm either rooting for the Niners or the Eagles. I'm not a Chiefs fan.
Yeah.
And I don't dislike it. I like Andy Reid a lot. I like Mahomes a lot. I like that team, but since the Patriots have always had to deal with them, they're not the team I want to see win a Super Bowl. Anyway,
Yeah.
I want to see the Bills or the Bengals win this Super Bowl. I really do. I want to, with who's left in it, I want to see one of those two teams win. No hate against your Eagles, no hate against the Niners. I mean, I hate your Eagles, but whatever. And it's not, and I don't want the Bills to win just because what happened with Hamlin. I've talked about it. I want all season long, all podcasts since we've started this thing. I have a lot of friends who are Bills fans. I want that organization to win. Like my friends, I'm sure would do what happened when your team won. Just break down. And then also, I love Joey B. He is my favorite player. That is he's younger than us, but like our generational player. Like that's the player that he's one of my top three players. I want to see him keep progressing. I like how he plays in the NFL. So I would be really excited to if it came down to those 14. It's really sad that the scenario. I don't think there's a scenario where it would end up being, if I looked at it right, and I know you had your scenarios where it would be Bengals Bills for the AFC Championship game. I don't think that's
no. They play in the divisional round if both win this weekend.
Yeah, they would have, yeah. It's sad. I would love to see that be the AFC Championship game, but
it can't happen. I agree with everything you just said. Obviously, I'm rooting for my Eagles. If my Eagles don't make it, and I say this every year, if my Eagles don't make it to the Super Bowl, I always want to see a team win that hasn't won a Super Bowl before, right? And there is 12 current NFL franchises who have never won a Super Bowl. The Vikings are one of them, so they're in the playoffs. The Bills are one of them. The Bengals are one of them. The Chargers are one of them, and then the Jaguars are one of them. So currently we have 5 teams in the playoffs right now who have never won a Super Bowl, who have a chance this year to win their first. So obviously I think we would say probably Bills, Bengals, Vikings are the ones who have like legitimate shots. Yeah. I think the Jaguars and Chargers, I mean, maybe the Chargers, get hot and, go through the playoffs, but yeah, it's I really do feel like wild card, unless there's some crazy good games, I don't think it'll be a good weekend of football, but I think divisional round might be one of the best rounds of, matchups and football we've maybe ever seen. Like that just looks like a great week of football, but we have to get through this one first. I have to leave to go pick up my son in about 20 minutes, Casino. So let's touch on hockey and basketball real quick and then wrap this bitch up.
Yeah, so I mean, I'll just run through hockey real quick if you're cool with that.
Yes, sir.
So we have pretty much now reached the halfway point. Some teams are a little less than that. Some teams are a little more than that. Things have slightly moved a little bit, but it has been a fun hockey season this year. There's a lot of records being tracked. A lot of teams just crushing it. So let's start off over in the Eastern. Again, the Bruins, they are the best team in hockey, hands down. They are President Cup winners, which if you don't know what that means, the President Cup means you have the best record out of any team through the entire league after the regular season. But that doesn't always bode well. There's a lot of, especially lately, President Cup winners, they get knocked down the first round or the second round. But I've watched a good portion of the Bruins games because they are my first love, my second team, and they are crushing it. They have played 40 games, so they're 1 game shy of being halfway through the season, and they have 68 points. The closest person in their division, in the Atlantic Division, is the Maple Leafs with 57 points, and they've played 1 extra game. It is absolutely – Bruins have lost 4 games this year, 32, 4, and 4. That's it. They've lost
Jesus.
8 games. It's insane. So 4 of those are an OT, so they did get 4 points total out of all of that, but it's absolutely bonkers. But yeah, the Atlantic Division, you got the Bruins, Maple Leafs, and Lightning. Maple Leafs have kind of gone on a really good stretch here, even though they Lightning have a few games in hand to catch them. Even if they won their next 3, they still wouldn't catch the Maple Leafs. That's how much that Atlantic Division is pretty much just set. Those 3, one of those 3 teams would have to have a major downfall of a year to not make it. And then in the Metropolitan, finally the Hurricanes, the team that a lot of people thought as cup contenders, or they were the favorites to start the year. The Canes are sitting at the top of the Metropolitan with 57 points, and they're above the Devils. And then really after that, it's kind of a fight, a dog fight between the Penguins, Rangers, and Capitals, and even throwing the Islanders there to get that last 3rd spot, which is pretty intriguing to watch. But the Metropolitan Division they're just beating the hell out of each other. Over in the Western side of things, I'm really excited about this because I am going to a game in 2 weekends. I think it is in 2 weekends. I'm going to the Golden Knights versus the Golden Knights versus the Capitals.
Nice. My
Which
my
which
1-year-old,
should be a fun one.
my 1-year-old who turns 2 tomorrow. We're recording this on Tuesday. His birthday is Wednesday. He went to his first Golden Knights game Saturday, where they got their dicks kicked in by the Kings. So
Yes, they did.
that was nice.
Was it like 7-1?
5-1. And yeah, he hated it. So maybe we're gonna have to wait a little older until we take him to another hockey game.
Yeah, like I told you, we took Michaela and we barely got through the first portion of the game, and then it was like,
yeah.
was over. But anyway, so now moving over to the Central, the Avs have dropped now a bit. Kind of the same scenario. You've kind of got the 2 top teams, and then you got a whole bunch of people fighting. So the Stars, the Jets. I am seeing the Stars versus Knights in February, which I am excited for that because that's going to be 2 division leaders, most likely. Because the Golden Knights have been slipping a little bit as of late, but they are very injury prone. So moving now into the Pacific, the Golden Knights, they've only played 42 games. They are sitting at the top of the table with 56 points. The Kings, even though they did, as you said, get their dicks kicked in, teeth kicked in.
Kick dicks in. They kick dicks in.
Yeah, there it is. Whatever it is.
Yeah.
But Golden Knights still have 2 games in hand on them, with 2 already being 2 points ahead. But the big one is the Kraken. They have 5 games in hand to the Kings and 3 games in hand to the Knights, and they're sitting at 50 points. So if they win their next 3 games straight, they're tied at the top of the division. And actually, I think they would hop the Knights because they have the win over them this year.
Damn.
So the Kraken are the surprising team out of the Pacific and one of the surprising teams out of the entire NHL. And the Flames and Oilers still just haven't been able to get their shit figured out. At least they're not the Ducks or the Blackhawks, because those teams are awful. You're still on that Ovi watch. He's still crushing it. I think his current number, let me get it up. Ovechkin, his current number 800. Yeah. So he's keeps he's actually scoring a shit ton this year. He keeps crawling up the list. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to find it. It's my internet's starting to be a little slow. I don't know what his exact number is, but I know he's been getting close. He's still trying to reach that 894 Wayne Gretzky number, which I still think he could do it. Not this season, because that means he would have one of the best scoring seasons ever. But in the next 2 seasons after this, he's going to beat Gretzky's number before he retires. So
Damn.
it's fun to watch those games with Ovechkin, even though obviously I'm not a big fan of him because the Knights lost to the Capitals. But he's a hell of a player, and what he's doing is phenomenal. So it is exciting to keep watching his goal count go up. We have the All-Star break coming up here. We don't have time to really do the snubs and all of that because we haven't really got into the hockey this season yet about players. We could do a special segment on that here in the next few weeks, but that's pretty much it on hockey. For now, that's the quick version. Obviously, there's a lot of other news that I didn't touch on, but
and with the football season kind of coming to a close here, obviously the college football finale was last night, and then the NFL finale will be in a month, 3 weeks. We're going to start transitioning the show to talking more, I guess, in depth about, hockey and basketball. So, we're still going to throw some football in there when there's news, but obviously when there's no games, that content becomes less sparse, but we want to keep the podcast going. So we're going to talk more sports that aren't football. So if you like that, great. If you don't like it, maybe you like us enough to stay and listen to that just because you like our sultry tones. As far as the NBA, the crazy thing that happened actually before our last podcast, we just didn't have time to talk about it, was Donovan Mitchell of the Cleveland Cavaliers scored the most points in the NFL in a game since Kobe Bryant.
You mean NBA?
What did I say?
NFL.
Yes, I'm sorry. That would be crazy if he scored the most points in the NFL because he doesn't even play in there. But he does play in the NBA.
No, because the most points scored in the NFL goes to the great kicker, Vinatieri.
Adam Vinatieri. Yes, it does.
And
this one, on Monday night, Donovan Mitchell scored 71 points, which is the most, since 2006, where it was Kobe with his famous 81, the second most points in NBA history. Wilt Chamberlain still number 1 with a record that I don't think will ever be even close to being touched, which is 100 points, and it's fucking crazy. But yeah, Donovan Mitchell, 71 points, 55 points after halftime, which was tied with Kobe Bryant for the most points by any player over the past 25 years. He made 20 free throws. He also had 11 assists and 8 rebounds. Just crazy stat line. So shout out to Donovan Mitchell. And the team that I've weirdly been rooting for this year, even though they're in the same conference as my team, which my team is obviously the Sixers, but the Cleveland Cavaliers are like fun to watch. I kind of called my shot at the beginning of the season, and they've been, I don't know, like going with best case scenario of what I thought they would be. The Celtics still remain on top, but they've kind of wavered a bit, and now it feels like here come the Nets.
Don't they have a long win streak currently?
No, they've only won 3 in a row, but the game they did lose, and I will pull it up right now, they got their dicks kicked in by the Thunder, where the Thunder beat them 150-117 was their last loss.
That was one for the history books. They lost that same amount of point difference. It was like 1970 or something like that. And then like in 79, roughly, I know they were both in the 70s. 70s was the last time, I think it was the 70s or 50s.
They lost by that big of a margin.
Yeah. So they tied the second margin where they got their dicks kicked in.
Yeah. So they, but since then they've been good.
Not margin. Let them score that many points. Sorry.
Yeah. So since then they've been good, but they play the Nets followed by, or I believe the Pelicans followed by the Nets. The Nets right now are second behind them, a game and a half back. Then the Bucks, then the Cavaliers, then the 76ers. Those are the top 5 in the East right now, all jockeying for position. Sixers within 4 games, Cavaliers within 3, but it really is a 3-team race between the Bucks, the Nets, and the Celtics. Celtics obviously still on top. The rest of the East is kind of Pacers, Knicks, Heat, Hawks, Bulls are all in that second tier of teams, and they just feel like
I gotta go the West here.
All right. Let me finish up Western, and then we'll head out of here. Or are you dipping out, Casino?
Yeah, I gotta dip out.
All right. We'll see you Thursday for next episode.
Yep. And also take a good look at this view because it's switching.
All right.
I'm gonna switch it next.
Nice beanie, right. Casino.
Yep, there it goes.
Nice.
Parking's bye.
All right.
Told you, see you. Crazy.
I'll do last couple minutes right here. Just talk about the West. So the West, we have the Nuggets and Grizzlies tied at the top. The Grizzlies obviously with Morant. The Nuggets obviously with, why am I forgetting his name? Sorry, the screen changing just messed that up for me. But obviously with Jokic. Still a name I don't know if I'm saying right, even though I've heard other people say it, and it just sounds wrong to me. But Nuggets and Grizzlies up top. And then we had Pelicans, Mavericks, Kings, Warriors, Clippers, Suns. Warriors and Suns play tonight. Obviously, we're recording this on Tuesday. They play Tuesday night. Return of Seth Curry. So we'll see how he plays and how this team rallies around his return. The West is a lot more wide open, it seems. Nuggets and Grizzlies on top doesn't even really seem like they're the best teams. They kind of just have the best record in the West. The West definitely feels much more wide open. I mean, the East, you went down to the 6th or 7th team, and those teams were 10 games back. You have to go to the bottom 2 teams to get that wide a margin on the West side to equate how big of the gap is from the East, from the best to the worst team. In the West, everybody, it appears, is within 8 games, which, we see a lot of streaks. Right now, the Grizzlies are on a 7-game win streak, so it could click in for really any of these teams. Lakers are still 1922. They're the 12th in the West right now, but I mean, they're 3 games back from being at 500, which would put them like 9th. So yeah, NBA, like Casino was saying, hockey's at the midway point. The NBA is about to be at their halfway point, and then where it kicks into gear is both those obviously after the halftime break. Or the All-Star break, I'm sorry. But yeah, as I said earlier, we'll get more into NBA and NHL more in depth once football, leaves our screens, and we can talk more about those in depth. So I'll definitely, and when football ends, that's when I switch to NBA mode and start, I guess, paying more attention, watching more games, even though I watch a fair amount now, but then it becomes the only thing to watch and focus on and blah, 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 blah. So this has been the Only Sports Podcast. I'm Will. That was Casino. Follow us on YouTube, The Only Sports Podcast. On Twitter, I was tweeting Sunday nights or Sunday afternoons Eagles game. I'll tweet every once in a while. Casino doesn't tweet. I'm not really a big tweeter either, but try to get engagement or whatever the fuck the term is. I don't know. Only Sports Pod on there. Subscribe, comment on YouTube, and then obviously wherever you get your podcast, we're also on there. So yeah. We'll see you. We're going to try to do shows every Tuesday and Wednesday now that there's not, Monday night games we have to wait, or Thursday night games we have to wait to talk about. So we'll start more consistently uploading episodes Tuesdays and Thursdays. So, been the Only Sports Podcast, and we'll see you Thursday.